Well, guys, we're back in the garage. We're going to try and get the back end off this 04 CR250. And if we have more time than that, we'll try and get the motor out. Anyway, let's take a look and see how far we can get. We'll start by getting rid of the rear tire here, loosening up our axle. Holy smokes, I don't know what this guy has this adjusted at. Oh my Lord. I might need to put the impact on it. Holy smokes. So this rear axle nut, it's supposed to be 90 foot-pounds. Now, I don't know if this guy and his buddies just decided to tighten it up till they couldn't move it anymore, but I couldn't budge it with a ratchet. So we'll put the impact on it and see how it goes. Holy smoke. Well, at least it's off. So the axle's not seized in there, at least. The kid just had it tight. Now, sometimes what happens when you go to buy a bike is the pedal will feel a little spongy, so guys will go ahead and top up the brake fluid when their pads are wore down. Now, these pads aren't that wore down, but sometimes you may need to take the brake fluid, the rear cap off, and then spread your pads apart. But this one wasn't like that. If you guys have seen my other videos, you'll know I'm a big fan of when you take your axle out. This is the spacer from that side. This is the spacer from that side. I put it all back together the way I found it so that I know how it came off, so we can clean it up and put it back on the right way. Every bike is different spacers sometimes, but anyway, it's good to keep it together. We'll go ahead and get our rear master cylinder out of the way. Now, knowing how tight that axle was, I'm a little worried how tight this is going to be. Oh, no, it's no problem. He just liked to make sure his tire wasn't going to fall off, I guess. Now, we're going to drive it out from the other side. I don't know how hard it is in there. Sometimes they seize in pretty good. Now, not everybody's going to have a piece of aluminum, but this is just a piece of a solid aluminum bar. Don't put a punch in it from the other side, because you'll end up driving your punch and your punch will get wedged in there, and it's almost worse to get that out than it is to try and just do it with a brass bar would be best. Aluminum one works fine too. That's why I have it. It gets a little mushed up, but you can file that off. But keeping it good and flat so you can drive it out without wrecking the threads. This one's not bad at all, actually. That's a good sign. They said they did the bottom end. So in order to get the motor, oh, it's still got grease on it and everything. Man, these guys actually did good work, like in the motor, it seems, and putting stuff back together. They just didn't know it all. They just didn't know the how-to, I guess, of everything. We'll just work her back and forth, try and get it out of there. There we go. Perfect. So again, with the swing arm, we want to put the axle back in for now. I plan on stripping the bike down more, and I'll forget which part went where, so which washer went where. We'll get the nut on there. And then at least it stays all together. Same, I'm going to leave the linkage in. On this piece here, I'm going to put the actual bolt back in it. And the linkage. We're going to have to take it apart after. But it went this way. Rollers. I don't want to lose the bearings out of there. They're all brand new, it looks like. That's a bonus. are definitely redone. They feel brand new. Awesome. Guys, I just wanted to tell you about something you should have. If you're going to be pulling motors out of bikes, taking them apart, a motor stand. You know, I've always had one when I worked on cars. I never had one when I worked on bikes until recently. And recently, I mean, within the last few years, I bought one because it was a pricey item up here. You know, this is the only one I could find, and it was a few $100s. And I thought that's ridiculous for a stand, but it has saved me time and time again, from catching things in the tray to just being able to position the motor in all sorts of directions. Honestly, I wouldn't go without it now that I've had one. So it's something to look into. It's not a must-have, but it's definitely a quality of life feature. Probably the number 2 quality of life feature in my shop. Number 1 would be the motorcycle lift, being able to get the bike off the ground. Bending over, I'm not 20 anymore. You know, I don't want to bend over and work on my knees all day. But anyway, number 2 product, if you got the room, if you have some disposable money, save your money, get a motor stand. This is why it's important to take these things apart, guys. I went and touched this, and it is so loose, it's barely on there. Whoever installed it, there's a certain amount of tension you want to put on so that it doesn't, but finger tight like that is not it. You should have to take it off with a special wrench. So as I was moving the camera, I barely touched it and pushed these bearings right off. They're actually not very good at all. I'll get the front end off and then we'll take a look at these. So sometimes you can get away with simply packing grease into them because they probably have never been taken apart by the previous owner. But in this case, you can see this bottom one. You can see how bad the bottom one is. It still spins. It's not overly hard, but there's not one piece of wet grease left in this. It is bone dry. So we're gonna have to get this bearing off, get a bearing kit for this bike. Yeah, the top one's no better. This sucker's bone dry. There's a little bit of grease on the front there, but we're gonna, there we go. I just couldn't get it out of the setup. Loosen off the other bolts here so we can break the forks free of the triple clamp. In order to get the foot peg mounts off, you need to take the foot peg out to get at the bolt. The whole shop is littered with parts. Front end parts over there. I got the whole bucket of everything and anything. You know, rear suspension, swing arm, brakes. The frame's still up on the stand so I can Start working on it. The motor's sitting in the cradle. The whole bike's tore apart. Getting the bike tore down this far is a huge benefit. We get to see all the parts, what kind of shape they're in. We get to know exactly what kind of product we're going to need to order. Obviously, now we know we need steering stem bearings. You guys saw it come apart, and they're rough. I didn't think they were, but they're twice as bad as I thought. When I rode the bike, it felt a little wonky, and then seeing it on the cleanup, the clutch cable and a whole bunch of compounding problems, I thought, oh, maybe that's it, because they did move. Now, I think they moved because it was loose. Maybe he loosened them off because they were getting seized up. I don't know. Doesn't matter. We're going to replace them. We're going to get some wheel bearings for this bike. They're good. And I know I sell the bikes, but they're good enough to keep riding on, but they're not good enough for me. So we're gonna change them while we got it apart. Anyway, leave a comment down below, guys, if you like the video. Let me know you subscribed, and thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.